Bienvenidos todos a un Castigo Divino bastante particular. Empezamos a saber por qué. Vamos a ir ajustando el tema técnico, porque es la primera vez que voy a entrevistar a alguien que habla otro idioma. Y yo hablo así inglés como para pedir una biela y para largarte en Uber, pero no para hablar de informática y de temas judiciales. Y antes de hacer el papelón a lo Correa, hemos decidido tener un sistema de traducción simultánea. Entonces vamos a ir explorando cómo va el asunto. También a través del audio van a tener ustedes la traducción simultánea. Y yo estoy más cableado que reggaetonero de Torolebús. Agradecer a todos los que están aquí, bienvenidos. Para mí es un placer tener la casa absolutamente llena, como es costumbre, aquí en el Castigo Divino. Agradecer a la gente que viene también de, ya no sé cómo se llama la nueva Senaín. Sí es, creo. Alce la mano, ¿cuál es la gente? Tiene 2x1 en cervezas el día de hoy. Reporte nomás al capitán Daza o a Andrade Daza. Pero si usted no es agente y está queriendo utilizar la promoción de los agentes, será identificado y castigado por sapo. Esto es solo para agentes de inteligencia que se toman el tiempo de venir al Castigo Divino. Bienvenidos, también siempre es un placer tenerlos aquí. Agradecer a las instituciones que permiten que esto suceda. Permiten que esto suceda. Uribe Schwarzkopf con su proyecto Corner, ubicado en Las Chiris y Portugal. Muchísimas gracias, Banco de Guayaquil. Cerveza Latitud 0, 100% Moslaca. Vino Navarro Correas, único correa que no causa indigestión. Seguro Sucre, que es lo mejor que puede pasar. Además, agradezco a Cuscuy, que son los portavasos de mi señora. Gracias, señora. Búsquenlos en Instagram, se escribe con K, los dos Cuscuys. Sin más, para mí es un placer tener un invitado esta noche que ha sido un frecuente visitante de los titulares noticiosos de los últimos meses, una persona absolutamente enigmática para la mayoría de los ecuatorianos, empezando por mí, y eso que tengo panas súper metaleros y raros. Pero un caso emblemático desde lo judicial, desde lo internacional. Y vamos a tratar de descubrir quién es, vamos a tratar de descubrir en qué condiciones está su caso y esperemos que disfruten. Así que sin más, pido que le den un fuerte aplauso al señor Hola Bini. ¿Cómo estás?
Very good, thank you.
Bien. Van a tratar de... Si no, ¿para qué no fueron al colegio y para qué no estudiaron algo de inglés?
Yes, beer. Thank you.
La gente dice que eres un tipo raro, que eres un tipo extraño. Nosotros somos así medio ambateños todos, pero la gente cuando te ve dice como que ¿qué tipo más raro? ¿Y tú qué dices a eso?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just myself. I chose my own style. I listen to the kind of music I listen to. I dress the way I like to. I feel like everyone should be themselves.
¿Y qué música escuchas?
So
Mayhem, así, el metal más puro.
I don't listen to metal very much. I listen to post-punk and new wave.
Punk.
Post-punk.
Tú iniciaste tus capacidades informáticas casi que al poco tiempo de poder hablar, al poco tiempo de caminar, a los 4 años ya estabas teniendo experiencias de programación.
Yeah, I started when I was 8 or 9 programming.
¿Y cómo te empiezas a dar cuenta de que tienes una habilidad especial para eso?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I have special skills. It's just I've been a programmer for 30 years, so you learn something during that time.
Dejaste el colegio, no terminaste el colegio.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school, yeah.
¿Por qué?
I was bored.
Me aburrí.
¿Y lo que te daban en el colegio era muy básico para ti o qué te aburría? ¿O era una cantidad de gente que no te llamaba la atención? ¿Por qué dejas el colegio?
I think primarily because the subjects that I learned in school were not the things that I was interested in. I was interested in continuing with computer skills, and my computer skills was at a stronger level than I was learning in school at that point. And I got an offer to start a job as a programmer when I was 18, so I took that job and I started learning by doing a job instead.
¿Y qué dijeron tus padres cuando dijiste el colegio? Dijiste, esa mierda que me dan ahí me parece muy básica y no, en realidad no cumple mis expectativas.
I don't know. I don't remember what I exactly said, but they were very understanding, especially since at the same time I moved to the other side of Sweden, like 500 kilometers away from them. So they were more focused on moving away rather than skipping out of school.
De ahí entras tú a trabajar para una universidad en el centro de cómputo.
Actually, my first year I started in a separate institution that was focused on social sciences, so one of the departments of the university. After the first year I moved to the central IT department.
Y ahí desarrollabas proyectos de lucha contra el cáncer.
No, actually, the cancer project I did when I was working for ThoughtWorks. That was in 2012, 2011, 2012. I spent a year in Los Gatos outside of San Francisco leading a team that was working on cancer treatments.
¿Y nunca dijiste qué hubiese sido mi vida si es que hubiese seguido una línea tradicional de seguir en el colegio, de fugarme del colegio, de esa vida que tenemos la gente en el colegio, ¿no? Porque a mí también me caía pésimo la gente en el colegio y también me parecía que me estaban enseñando pendejadas, brother, pero nunca se me ocurrió dejar botando el colegio y largarme a San Francisco. Maldita sea, me hubiese ido muy bien, creo yo. Ojalá.
You know, it's hard to say how your life would have turned out if you'd made different choices. I've made 1,000 choices that led me here today, and every single one of them could have led to a different path. But dropping out of school, I've never felt that was a mistake. But you're a high school dropout yourself, right?
What?
You dropped out of school yourself, right?
No, a mí el colegio me votó a mí. Que es más o menos como lo mismo, solo que ahí el que tomó la iniciativa fue... No, el que tomó la iniciativa fue el rector, porque pensaba de que yo no debería estar rodeando ese tipo de gente. You got it?
No, it disappeared for a while.
¿Pero ya lo tienes?
Now I have it.
¿No que no entiendes español?
Sorry.
No. ¿Cómo me entiendes si no funciona el audífono? Eso es algo que dicen, que en realidad sí hablas español.
Because there was no sound here.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your question?
Que... Claro, ahora sí ya. Mino habla español. No, que hay gente que dice que es...
Skål.
Cheers. ¿Cómo dijiste?
Skål.
¿Eso es sueco?
Swedish.
Hay gente que dice que sí hablas español, solo que por temas procesales, por temas judiciales, te conviene decir que no hablas español.
I understand very, very little Spanish. Very, very little, and I speak even less. I can order food and I can say hey, hello.
Más o menos como yo en inglés. Pero ¿Y cómo llegaste en el 2013?
2013, yes.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 7 años. Y si es que eres un tipo brillante, como todo el mundo dice, ¿cómo mierda no aprendiste español?
Yeah, I know, it's sad. It's sad, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I haven't learned more Spanish than I have. The real reason is that I was working really hard, and I was working mostly with English-speaking people, and I was also traveling a lot. So every time I tried to learn Spanish, it got interrupted, and I didn't get any continuity, and yeah, I just never got anywhere.
O sea, nunca paseaste por el Ecuador, ni te fuiste a pedir un hornado, ni un ceviche en Manabí, ni nada. Ahí en la compu.
When I've traveled around in Ecuador, I've traveled with people that speak Spanish that could help me.
Qué cómodo, ¿no? Lo tuyo, pues. Yo también necesito algo así. Volviendo al anterior, una empresa te contrata para desarrollar software libre. Tú ya entras en el tema de software libre cuando estás en Estados Unidos.
Actually, I started working on open source when I was in Sweden, when I was about 20 years old. So I've been working with open source for 17 years now.
¿El audio de él sí está sonando? Perdón un segundo. Chema, ¿el audio de él se está registrando? Can you talk a little bit?
Hello, I can talk a little bit. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Ya. ¿Pero sí lo escuchan o no lo escuchan? So maybe you can talk louder?
I should talk louder. Okay, I can talk louder. Is this better? I can scream.
Ya.
Yeah.
De ahí tú viajas a Brasil.
I mean, I have never lived in Brazil. I've visited Brazil many times.
¿Para qué?
To work.
¿En qué?
With open source projects.
Ya, pero ¿para quién o por qué o qué tipo de proyectos?
So I used to work for a software company called ThoughtWorks.
Yeah.
And this is an international company. I worked from 2007 until 2017, and we have offices all around the world. And I worked in ThoughtWorks on open source, and I did this including in Porto Alegre, here in Quito, in Europe, in India, in China, in many different places around the world.
Entonces viajaste por todo el mundo trabajando para esta empresa y con esta empresa llegas a Ecuador.
Yes, exactly. We were the company was going to open an office here in Ecuador, and I was living in Chicago at the time, and I decided together with my wife at the time that, okay, well, we've lived in Chicago for 4 years, it's time to live somewhere else. Ecuador seemed like a great place. I'd visited 2-3 times before, and I really liked it, so we decided to come along with the company, help opening up the office.
Tú vienes casado al Ecuador.
Yes, I was married at the time.
Y te separaste acá.
Yes.
¿Qué pasó? Te hackearon el WhatsApp.
We grew apart, like happens. I was spending a lot of time with work, and I was traveling around the world like crazy, and we had been together for 10 years, and finally that ended up being too much for the relationship.
¿Y por qué Ecuador? ¿Cuál era el interés de una empresa transnacional de software libre de enfocarse en un país pequeño con con poco desarrollo tecnológico, con una penetración de internet escasa? Aquí te coge el internet a veces sí y a veces no. Tenemos a la principal compañía de internet entregada a un corrupto que no tiene nada que ver, pero por si acaso, no es como el mejor sitio como para venir, ¿no? ¿O qué te atrajo al Ecuador?
So what attracted me and what attracted ThoughtWorks are two different things. So first, the company. So in 2012, the company had an office in Porto Alegre in Brazil, and the leaders were thinking about expanding into the rest of Latin America, into the Spanish-speaking part of Latin America. And so they started looking around into different countries in Latin America, the places that they could go to that could be potentially interesting. And they looked at several different countries, and by the end of 2012 they decided that Ecuador was the most interesting one because it was, it was a combination of different things. The first one was that it had good enough educational system. So even though you don't have like
Aquí.
Here in Ecuador, yes. Well, comparing to the other countries, we found that there was a lot of potential for finding good people with good skills. The IT market here was not very good at the time, but we felt that it could grow really quickly if we could find the right people with the right potential. There was also very practical in terms of being in a good time zone for doing nearshore work to the United States. So having consultancy teams here that work for the United States. And that's also another reason to do it here because the costs were fairly low. So companies in the US could save money by having contracts done in Ecuador instead of being done in Brazil. And then finally, what both me and the company liked was that actually there was a lot of interest in open source here, both from a governmental but also from a private. Both the government and the private sector is actually quite interested in open source here, significantly more in many other countries in the world.
Y del gobierno en ese tiempo era Rafa's time. Conversaron con el gobierno, la llegada de la compañía fue en acuerdo con el gobierno, conversaron con alguien del gobierno que les decía efectivamente vengan, hay posibilidades en el Ecuador, somos el jaguar de Sudamérica y esas cosas que decían. Digo, ¿no?
Honestly, I don't know if those discussions were had because I've never been an executive. I was never a boss of any kind for ThoughtWorks. I was just a simple employee. If those discussions were had, I was not part of those discussions. I do know that several of the private software community here were very welcoming and said that we should come and said that there would be a good place for us here.
Pero tú siempre has sido un tipo de izquierda.
Ish.
¿Qué quiere decir ish?
It means left-ish, as in I find that political views are very complicated, and putting them on a single axis between left and right is a simplification that can be complicated sometimes.
Ya, entonces yo también estoy de acuerdo con eso. Creo que hay ladrones en cada lado. Pero, ¿qué opinas de Rafael Correa?
I think that Rafael Correa did some good things, and I think that he did some bad things.
¿Cómo qué good things?
Some good things. I think that the new constitution was fantastic, and I think that it had a lot of really great things in it, giving rights to the environment.
¿La leíste?
Parts of it.
Pero si está en español.
There are English translations.
Ya. Creo que la única que hay es en quichua, en realidad, pero capaz aprendiste quichua y no español. La Constitución, ¿qué más? De cosas buenas.
So the Constitution I really enjoyed. I think that it's a hard question.
Tengo todo el tiempo del mundo.
I think that focusing on infrastructure work was good. I think that the communication law that he put in place was quite interesting in terms of...
¿Te gustaba la ley de comunicación? Pero ¿no te gusta la libertad, de que fluyan las ideas por el mundo? Esa ley lo que hacía lo contrario.
I think that the communication law had a really good intent, but I think that the way it was implemented and done ended up being really bad.
¿Pero tú estás de acuerdo con las regulaciones?
I agree that regulations are useful, yes.
En comunicaciones y en freedom of speech, porque la gente que trabaja por libertades digitales, precisamente su discurso es otro, es libertad de expresión ante cualquier circunstancia.
I think freedom of expression is extremely important, absolutely. But the problem with freedom of expression is that if everyone has the same right to freedom of expression, irrespective of how much money and resources they have, that means that actually in practice you have censorship, which is the opposite of real freedom of expression. So the idea of, for example, dividing up spectrum into different components for community radio, for government and for private sectors, is something that from my perspective actually leads to better freedom of expression, in theory.
En teoría, porque a la final fue absolutamente contrario, y lo que hizo el gobierno fue acaparar los comunitarios, los públicos y buena parte de los privados. Pero y de ahí tú dijiste malas cosas, que Rafael también hizo cosas malas. ¿Qué cosas malas hizo?
So, one example I would say is that he took away the term limit for how many times you can be elected.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really dangerous thing in a democracy. Another thing, he went after NGOs without having any real legal pretext for doing it, just as seems to be happening under government with my NGO.
¿Contigo también? O sea, tu ONG también, no sé si perseguida, pero tuvo algún tipo de acoso de parte del gobierno.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the current expediente in my case, you will see that actually everyone in my NGO has been investigated significantly, even though there is no indication of a link to any kind of crime with it.
¿Qué tipo de investigaciones?
So, for example, they've done WAFE lookups and several other things. You can ask my lawyer. He's here in the audience somewhere exactly which the things they've done.
No, pero la entrevista no es con él. Otro día lo entrevisto.
And of course, we also had the extremely suspicious robbery that happened where one computer and three computers and one cell phone was taken. And
¿Cuándo?
So this was, let's see, this must have been on the 30th of July, 31st of July.
¿De este año?
Yeah. During this
Ya está
process.
respondiendo, abogado. ¿Cómo va a ser esto? No, pero la entrevista acá, pues, abogado. Otro día le invitamos, no se preocupe. Pero estábamos hablando de persecución del gobierno en la época del gobierno anterior. Ahí nunca hubo una persecución. No estuvo tan larga la pregunta.
No, my NGO
Esta
didn't
es la
exist.
pregunta y esta es la respuesta.
My NGO never existed during the previous epoch. It was created
Estamos hablando
quite
del CAD,
recently.
no de la empresa. Tú empiezas a querer establecerte en el país de manera legal. Haces un proceso de visado. Haces una inversión en el Banco del Pacífico de $40,000. Porque te piden una inversión para... ¿Por qué te querías quedar en Ecuador una vez que se acaba tu contrato con la empresa y te quedas aquí? No hablas español, poco contacto con la gente. ¿Por qué te quedas? Y está bien que te quedes. Welcome. Pero, ¿por qué?
I'm staying for the same reason that I came. The reason why I decided to move here is because I really like the country. I like the people here. I like the environment.
Pero ¿cómo te
I
gusta
like
la
it.
gente si no puedes hablar con la gente?
I can talk to a bunch of people. There's a lot of people that speak Spanish. Speaks English.
Y actually, I speak a lot of Spanish. Te quedas. Además, disfrutas de nuestros vegetales. Ahí el audio se fue de él.
Yes. You have great vegetables in this country. Some of the best in the world.
Tú eres profundamente vegetariano, vegano o vegetariano.
I'm not a vegan, I'm a vegetarian.
Eso quiere decir que comes huevo y comes quesos también, ¿no?
Yes, that's correct.
Se viene el proceso, durante todos estos años que tú estás acá, empiezas a visitar por más de 15 ocasiones a Julian Assange.
Yes.
¿De dónde conoces a El Suquito?
So I met him the first time in the embassy in 2013 in June, half a year before I moved to Ecuador, actually. I went to the embassy to talk to him about programming. He used to be a programmer. Most people don't really know about this, but Julian used to be a programmer creating software around privacy and security issues, just the same as the kind of things that I'm working on. So I went to talk to him about those kind of things.
Y tú llegas a la embajada así, Ring, disculpe señor, vengo a visitar a Julián.
Yes, exactly like that. No, I mean, in practice, that's kind of how it works, although, of course, you have to have a visit scheduled beforehand.
Y te presentas y tienes una conversación con él, hablar de qué, de estas cosas geeks así que hablan ustedes.
About which gigs? Sorry.
Computación, software, hablar de ese tipo de cosas. Intercambiar tarjetas de Goku y esas cosas que hace. ¿Qué hace ese tipo de gente? Es que para mí siempre han sido un misterio. ¿Y tú qué crees de él? Hay gente que dice que es un adalid de la libertad de expresión. Hay gente que dice que es un pirata informático, traficante de información. Hay gente que cree que es un periodista. ¿Tú qué crees de él?
Julian is a complicated person. He's done a lot of things during his life, but during this era, I would call him a journalist. That's how I see him. And a journalist that exposes the kind of things that many other organizations have not really been willing to publish in many cases.
Pero un periodista recibe una información, la verifica, la contrasta y la procesa periodísticamente. Lo que él hace es filtrar documentos. Y muchas de esas filtraciones se acomodan a los intereses de alguna superpotencia mundial.
I mean, where do you get the idea that they don't verify their documents?
No, yo digo que ese es el proceso periodístico. Lo que no creo que hace es una contrastación.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really work for WikiLeaks, and I have never worked with them. So honestly, I don't know what their process looks like. But as far as I can tell, there's not really a big difference between his style of publishing and other kinds of publishing. And I mean, he did work together with several major newspapers for many, many years on publications.
Claro, los periódicos eran los que hacían la parte periodística. Tras una filtración. Pero ¿qué opinas de que funcione muchas veces a favor de Vladimir Putin?
I don't know if I think that there's any evidence of that.
Trabajaba para su canal, ¿no?
For
Igual
his
que
channel?
Rafa. RT.
Sure. Yeah, he did a program for them. Absolutely.
¿Todo bien?
I get no translation.
Yeah, so that's okay.
Having given a program on RT, I mean, I've given an interview to RT during this process. Does that make me corrupt too?
No, pero trabajar para ellos, trabajar para Putin es como trabajar para Maduro, creo yo, ¿no?
I don't know. I mean, from my perspective, he sorry, I'm getting Spanish in my ear. From my perspective, working for RT, I mean, he's worked for other outlets in the Western world, like the New York Times or Washington Post or The Guardian and so on and so on. I don't know if I see a huge difference between them.
No, para The Guardian, para el New York Times, para El País, ha trabajado en colaboración de filtración de documentos, no ha trabajado teniendo un espacio fijo como siendo un empleado, lo cual es absolutamente distinto. De ahí también se lo vinculó mucho con los ataques rusos a la campaña de los demócratas en Estados Unidos a favor del señor Trump.
I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Have you?
No, yo tampoco.
So, I mean, it's easy to cast these kind of allegations, but it's harder to actually come up with proof and showing that this is actually the way things were. Now, if he was literally working with the Russians to do this in order to elect Trump, I think that would be really bad. But I also don't think that we've seen any evidence of that.
¿Y tú nunca has trabajado con rusos? En esta parte como mala, porque también hay rusos buenos, ¿no?
No, I have never done. Sorry, I've never done any of the illegal aspects of computers.
Yo nunca dije eso, yo dije si has trabajado con rusos, digo, pero no digo que si es que has hecho algo ilegal.
Sorry, my translation said something completely different.
Yeah. ¿Has trabajado con rusos? ¿Has trabajado con colegas rusos?
No, I've never worked with Russians. I don't have any Russian colleagues. I don't have any Russian friends. I actually don't know any Russian people at all. I don't know. Are there any Russians in this audience?
Claro, ¿hay algún ruso?
No.
Vamos un poco al caso. Tú estás trabajando en el Ecuador, tu defensa, y tú dices que estaba trabajando tranquilamente, me gusta el país, tengo colegas interesantes con los cuales trabajar en el tema de software libre, y un buen día amanece el país con la noticia del presidente de decir hemos ordenado el desalojo de Julian Assange. Esa misma mañana, a las 7 de la mañana, la ministra del Interior da una rueda de prensa que yo siempre he considerado desafortunada, desatinada, equivocada, en la que dice, sí, hay 2 rusos que trabajan acá para desestabilizar al país, palabras más, palabras menos, y estamos tras la pista de ellos. Tú cuando ves esa rueda de prensa o te enteras de esa rueda de prensa, no te dabas por aludido.
No, I was very confused. I mean, of course, the press conference, she said that there was a person that knew Julian Assange and that has lived in Ecuador for a long time. So I was wondering, okay, well, could that be about me? But then it says a person that works with WikiLeaks, that works together with Russians, and those things were completely wrong. So I was pretty certain that it could not be talking about me.
Que viajabas con Patiño, decía.
Yeah, which also there is absolutely no evidence for because I've never done that.
¿Nunca has conocido a Patiño?
No, never.
Bien está, hermano, mantente así. Mantente así. Tú le dices a la gente de tu equipo que sin embargo de eso esté muy atenta a dónde estás tú durante ese día. Porque sí sientes de que hay una posibilidad de que vengan tras tuyo.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this press conference was very confusing, and I didn't think it was about me. But at the same time, you never know. So it didn't cost me any time, so I just made sure that if something happened, that someone would be notified.
Pero lo único que tenían es de que sí, de que habías visitado 15 veces a Assange. Básicamente era el único clic que tenías de que podía ser tú.
Yes, my guess is that there are not that many. What I was thinking was that there's probably not that many people that is not from Ecuador and has visited Julian many times.
Oye, hablando de las visitas a Julian, se me quedó las otras 14 también hablar de lo mismo.
We talked a lot about technology, yes.
Ya. Pamela Anderson estaba en alguna de estas.
Translation?
Pamela Anderson, eso está en inglés, loco.
No, we never spoke about Pamela.
Siempre hablar de tecnología, compartir lecturas también me han dicho.
Yeah, it happened. We both like certain kinds of science fiction.
Science fiction.
Science fiction.
No compartían deep web, porno style y ese tipo de cosas.
No.
No. Pregunto nada más. Por si tenías.
Why are you asking? Do you want some addresses?
Ya. Traje un flash memory. A ver, hablando de flash memories, tú tienes una cadena de flash memories.
Yes.
Todo el tiempo contigo.
Yes.
¿Puedo verla?
Sure. It's actually 2 chains. Yeah.
What the fuck? ¿Y qué hay ahí? Porque no es por moda esa nota.
It's not a fashion, no. It's actually a pain in the ass. So, you know, these black ones...
This is porno.
These black ones are not flash memories. They are what's called authentication tokens.
Yeah.
The thing is, passwords are horrible and they're really insecure, and the way people use passwords are not so great. So by using these kind of tokens, you can get a little bit more secure. But the problem is you can't really use the same password, and you can't really use the same authentication token for different for different purposes, because then say you use the same password for logging into Cinemark and to log into your bank. Well, if Cinemark if Cinemark has worse security and someone breaks into Cinemark and steal your password from there, they also get access to your bank. So the security of your, like, when we talk about security, basically we talk about the weakest link. And that means that if your password is reused, the weakest link is going to be the place where someone steals it from and then get access to all the other places. So you really need to have separate ones. The other ones, the USB drives, is a little bit the same kind of thing, where for different purposes, for different projects, you need to separate them so that they don't... I mean, it's like contamination. It's like a doctor. If a doctor goes in and operates on a person, they use gloves and they use all these clothes, and then they go in to do surgery on another person. They throw away all those clothes and they put them in the trash, and then they go into the other person because they don't want to contaminate one patient with the other patient. The same thing is true with projects. When you work, the same thing should be true. Like when you say, for example, if you have a work computer, you probably should keep your work separate from your personal life. So you probably should have different computers so that the work stuff doesn't impact your private stuff. And if you manage to get a virus on your private stuff, you don't infect your whole company.
¿Eso deberíamos hacer? ¿O es un ejemplo?
It's an example of what everyone should do. Yes. In general, this kind of, it's called compartmentalization. Basically, putting things into different compartments. It's really, really key to security, to proper security, and most people don't really do it enough because it's hard.
Y el resto es información de tu trabajo.
Yeah.
¿Y por qué lo cargas aquí?
I have it with me because these are the things that are sensitive that I need to protect. So I need to make careful that no one does something to them or steals them.
O sea, si te vienen a asaltar, llévense todo menos esto.
Exactly. Yes, please. If there are any robbers in the audience, keep track of that.
Sí, por favor, no robar. Oye, tu trabajo es precisamente, aparte del tema de software libre, trabajar en privacidad. Privacy. Yeah?
Yes. The specialty, I've done a few different things through my career, but over the last 10 years or so, security and privacy has been my main focus.
Hay mucha gente que te llama un genio en eso. ¿Te consideras así?
No.
Seguridad, ¿para qué clientes, por ejemplo?
For everyone. The work I do, I give away. It's open source. Everyone should be able to use them. So, for example, one of the products that I'm working on is something called OTR, which is a protocol that basically aims to give everyone more security. Anyone can use it for any purpose. Another example, I worked as a expert group member of a project called Decode for the European Commission, and they were also producing open source software that was meant to emphasize decentralized citizens engagement, so that so that you could have your personal data contribute to a city without big companies stealing that data and using it for their own purposes.
Hoy por hoy, ¿consideras que el manejo de nuestra información personal es vulnerable? Acá el caballero que tiene su teléfono ahí, está con la novia al lado, la información que le envía desde su teléfono por plataformas tradicionales, WhatsApp, Messenger de Facebook, mensajes internos de Twitter o lo que sea, es vulnerable.
Yes, absolutely. Vulnerable to attackers, of course. Just a few weeks ago, we saw that actually the People's Republic of China was attacking Uyghur people using very sophisticated exploits against iPhones. So these kind of attacks are very common, but also they're vulnerable to what I would call attacks from big companies like Facebook and Google. And those attacks are simply that they take all of the information that they can gather about it and sell it to ad networks, to sell it to other companies.
Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, you can't blame Cambridge Analytica. To a large degree, you have to blame Facebook for that.
También. Pero Facebook vende o ofrece la información de la gente, pero Cambridge Analytica la utiliza para fines políticos. Entonces, ni el uno ni el otro, ninguno es un santo. Y ahí hay un...
But do you think that Facebook doesn't use it for political purposes?
Yes, absolutely. Facebook, Google, Twitter, Tinder, everybody, because... Ya ves, ya se me va cruzando el inglés. El verdadero valor que tienen esas compañías no son estructuras ni edificios, es la data. Es absolutamente eso de lo que rentabilizan. Y sí, yo creo que estamos en un momento en el que somos absolutamente vulnerables al manejo de nuestra información. Pero dentro de eso, el señor Andrew Mueller, él fue señalado por un informe de los Estados Unidos como uno de los participantes de la utilización de esta data en la campaña de Estados Unidos, y las autoridades acá identificaron que el señor Andrew Mueller estuvo contigo en tu oficina durante una semana. Entonces eso les hace un clic entre la participación de Assange, Cambridge Analytica, la venta de la data y hola Bini. ¿Estuvo en tu oficina?
Can I first just point out that actually the US has not said that he was definitely involved. They said that it's possible that he's involved. Well, and that's a very, very big distinction. Yeah. But yeah, you're completely right. He was, so the week before I was arrested, we had what we call a kickoff meeting. A kickoff meeting was basically to get everyone together for a week and sit down and structure our work, decide how we were going to work together and so on. And Andy is one of the people that helps us with infrastructure. So our internal email systems is hosted on his, because he's also a provider of computer services in Berlin, and he has a data center. So our internal infrastructure runs on his data center.
Vino a dar ese tipo de servicio. Eso no quiere decir que haya ningún tipo de vinculación entre tú y ellos a nivel de estos supuestos que señala Estados Unidos.
Absolutely no link. I know nothing about that.
Nada.
I do know that word.
Sí. Tú ese día te ibas a Japón, el día que te detienen. De lo que entiendo fue una coincidencia. Tú practicas un arte marcial. Creo que eres cinta negra en ese arte marcial. Así que además de grandote, buen puñete. Por lo tanto, tomarás nomás una cervecita. Cheers. Conmigo todo bien, brother. Date puñetes con los agentes que han de estar por aquí. Pago por ver. Tú practicas un arte marcial.
Yes, that's true.
Eres cinta negra en eso.
Yes, and my black belt is currently in the possession of La Fiscalía because they claim this as evidence.
¿Y la cinta negra es una prueba fundamental de qué? De que el tipo hace deporte.
I don't do sports, I do martial arts. But, you know, the black belt is one of those things that people regularly misunderstand. They think that a person with a black belt is like, oh, they can go out and kill people with their bare hands.
Yeah.
That's actually the opposite of what's true. So the Japanese name for the first grade of black belt is Shodan. And Shodan basically means beginning level. All the belts you do before then, that's like you can make a comparison with studying. Like before you can start study, you have to learn the letters. You have to learn how to write the letters and how to read the letters, and then how to put them together into words and then sentences. And you have to understand sentence structure and paragraph structure. And finally, then you can start reading books. And then you need to actually build up your vocabulary. But once you've done all these things, then you can start reading about the thing that you're interested in, if it's chemistry, if it's biology, if it's math, whatever. But all this step up until that point, that's what all the other belts are for. When you get the black belt, that's when you can start learning the actual martial art. So it's the beginning level.
Y tú te ibas a Japón a un encuentro en el dojo de tu arte marcial.
Yes, I was going to train with the grandmaster of my art.
Y era un viaje que estaba planificado mucho antes de que saquen a Sánchez de patas para adelante y que la ministra Romo diga lo que diga, ¿no?
Yes, I booked the first tickets for that trip about 2 months before, in the middle of February. So the fact that I ended up traveling on the same date was an extreme coincidence.
¿Y tú, cómo fue tu detención?
Confusing. I don't know if I want to call it an arrest, because knowing now of what legally should have happened, it seems more like a kidnapping than an arrest.
Eso es grave.
Well, what happened was I was waiting at my gate. I was standing there reading. I was not hacking, as the president has said. I just want to make this clear. I was not hacking into anything. Well, unless I could be caught hacking with my book. Yeah. I was standing there reading, and I was waiting for my flight to start boarding. And they called. And actually, it's interesting. We've seen the security videos afterwards from the airport, and it's clear that actually they were tailing me from the whole time. Like when you see the surveillance videos from the airport, you can see that there are like 2 or 3 agents surrounding me at all the different points through the whole airport. But I was completely unknowing.
¿Nunca te diste cuenta de eso?
No. I mean, that means that they were doing their job, I assume. But anyway, so when I was standing there, they called me up to the gate and said, "Oh, we have to do a random control of your luggage." And once I was at the gate, several of these people came up. They said that they had an order to hold me. I was very confused. I didn't really understand. They didn't let me see any papers. They didn't show any documentation, and they took me away to an Interpol office. And at that point, they didn't have anyone that spoke English, and they've tried to find a person that could speak English, and finally they found one of the immigration officers who spoke very broken English and tried to explain that I had a holding order.
Como el mío, sí, claro. Claro. Like mine.
Okay,
Continue.
sorry. I'm just waiting for the translation. Yeah. So anyway, so I was sitting there, and they told me that I was not allowed to have my phone for my own security's sake. I don't really know how that works. I asked multiple times to see the order. I never got to see it. Of course, it would have been in Spanish, but I still didn't get to see it during any of this time. They didn't tell me what my rights were. They didn't tell me anything. And they also, when my lawyers finally arrived at the airport, they told my lawyers that I had no right to see a lawyer. So they denied my lawyers access, and then they told the lawyers that we were going to Fiscalía, so my lawyers went to the Fiscalía. Now it turns out that they were lying. Like after the fact, we know that...
Yo estaba hablando con tus lawyers en ese tiempo y subían y bajaban de Quito sin saber dónde estabas tú, en realidad.
Yeah, exactly, because the guys at the airport, the agents that held me, they kept telling me to tell the lawyers that we were going to be at Fiscalía, but they had no intention of going to Fiscalía, so they were just trying to get rid of my lawyers.
Fiscalía es una palabra que has aprendido bastante bien. Te tienen varias horas sin una orden judicial de detención emitida por un juez.
Yeah.
Esto llega alrededor de la medianoche.
Around 11. So they held me for exactly 8 hours, and then the prosecutor came to the airport. With handcuffs?
Yeah.
No, not the first 8 hours. Then at around 11:10 in the evening, the prosecutor came, and then they took all my things. They tried to read me the order, but they didn't have anyone that spoke Swedish or English, so they failed at telling me once again.
Man.
Well, I mean, as I found out, it's my constitutional right in all legal matters to have it in Swedish. So, but apparently I wasn't even. But of course, I don't know if everyone has heard about this, but the orders apparently said that I was Russian first, and then it says that I was from Switzerland, and then finally the third order was apparently for Swedish. So it took them a while to get it right. I would have expected them to at least have like a Russian translator there, not that. But no. So then they took me out. They took me out to the airport, and I sat in the back of a police car on the airport parking lot with handcuffs for 3 hours.
3 hours.
From 11:30 until 2:30 in the morning, and they never told me what was going on. And then after that, they took me to my house, and they said that they had an order to enter.
¿Tenías miedo?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at 2 a.m. in the morning, sitting in the back of a police car, no one knowing where I was scared. I didn't know if they were going to make me disappear or something along those lines.
¿Tenías miedo que te desaparezca?
Well, I mean, I was disappeared. My lawyers had no idea where I was.
Pero
They
¿qué
kept
decías?
me
Maldito
outside.
país tropical con sus maravillosos vegetales. ¿Por qué vine a parar acá?
Never. I'm sorry, but I mean, this might sound stupid, but you know, this stuff is a few people. This doesn't say anything about the country. It doesn't say anything about most people. I still like. I mean, I still want to live here. I still love the people. I still love the country.
¿Te quieres quedar?
Absolutely, if they let me.
Te llevan a tu casa y hacen un allanamiento con tu propia llave.
Actually, so it's a little bit more weird than that. They take me outside and they say that they have an order to enter, but they don't show me the order. And they ask if I will help them, like voluntarily. I say that I need to talk to my lawyer to be able to answer that. Now, what we now know from looking at the security tapes is that actually, about 20 minutes before they asked me that question, they had already gone into my apartment.
¿Con qué llave?
Well, that's an interesting question.
El celular, te quitaron también la llave.
My door was not broken, and it's clear that they must have used my keys. But of course, if they used my keys, they must have taken them from my luggage, which means that they interfered with the chain of custody.
Tú no tenías tus llaves.
No, they took them away from me when they put on my... all my bags and everything was taken from me at 11 in the evening.
So ellos ya habían ingresado en tu departamento. ¿Qué se llevan de ahí?
Well, you know, on the day after, at the hearing, like around 10 p.m. in the evening on a Friday, I finally found out that what they've taken was lots of computers. They have taken lots of hard drives. They had taken...
Lot of computers... How
I mean,
much?
Maybe 15, 20 computers, something
20
like that.
computers?
Yeah, something like that. But you know, the interesting thing was that they also took like 10 or 15 books, and these were very, very important evidence in putting me in prison. These books, because apparently they show that because I read about security and cryptography, and I've read books about WikiLeaks. This shows that I am clearly dangerous to the government.
Eso me suena como a los de Luluncoto, ¿no? Que tenían como pruebas un libro del Che Guevara.
Actually, I do have a book about Che Guevara, but they didn't take that one.
Y además se tomaron una botella de whisky tuya.
Not as far as I know.
¿No?
I don't think so.
Maybe
it was my lawyer.
Habrá sido el abogado. De ahí te mantienes detenido porque fueron como 36 horas esposado, sin saber cuál era tu destino, con regular o poco acceso a la justicia. Yo lo denuncié en su momento, habías pasado casi 24 horas sin acceso a tu derecho ni siquiera constitucional, sino de derechos humanos, a un servicio de justicia, un servicio de defensa. Tienen una audiencia de flagrancia, corrígeme si es que me equivoco. Pasan algunas cosas de índole legal, en el sentido de que no se ejecutaban las órdenes. La cosa es que te meten al tarro, brother, ¿ya? Y te mandan al Inca, a la cárcel del Inca.
Yes.
Cuando tú entras al Inca, ¿qué dices? Maldito país tropical de sus maravillosas verduras.
You know, sadly, you don't get access to many wonderful vegetables inside of El Inca.
Cheers.
Salud.
No beer porque no pagas la beer. Pues si hablas con el guía correcto, tienes beer y whisky y todo lo que quieras. So, how was El Inca?
It was strange. I mean, obviously, I was extremely scared when I came there first. I didn't speak enough Spanish to. I mean, I could barely say hello to people. It was very, you know. I have this idea of prison that comes from watching American movies, and El Inca was different than that. It was strange. I was taken in, and the first thing that happened was like I had to get rid of my boots and my hoodie, and then they were like, okay, get rid of your piercings, and if you don't do, they're gonna rip them off. So I kind of like was a little bit panicked to get rid of all my piercings, and then finally they took me in, and you know, I guess I expected prison to be ordered and under control of the guards. And this is a little bit different. What I found out later is that when I came there were over 2,000 prisoners in El Inca, which is built for less than 1,000 people. And during daytime, they have 8 guards.
8 guards.
8 guards for over 2,000 prisoners.
Pero al principio había gente que se disputaba el cuidado del gringo. Pandillas que decían, ven para acá, gringo, yo te cuido.
Of course, there are people that come and say that. But of course, if you've seen any of those American movies, you know that the people that say they're going to take care of you are people that you need to be a little bit careful with.
Las películas gringas funcionan, brother, ¿ves?
Part of them, yes, absolutely. I didn't expect the keys to the prison to be in the hands of prisoners, though. That was a big surprise.
Las keys.
The keys,
en manos de los prisioneros.
Yeah. When the guards go for dinner, they leave the keys in the hands of prisoners. So the prisoners go around and like do whatever they want.
De ahí te llevan a ti al pabellón de los padres que no han pagado la pensión de los hijos, para que estés un poco más seguro. Y ahí tú dijiste, bien, o qué.
Yeah, I said hello. When I came there first, to El Placer, which was the pavilion I was in, there was a person, Panchito, who spoke English, so he helped translate, and the people there, you know, El Placer is a little bit different than the rest of the cell blocks. First of all, like you don't have to pay rent. In all the other cell blocks, you have to pay money to get access to a cell.
For who?
To the capo, to the person in charge of the cell block. In El Placer, they didn't have that system because most of the people in Placer actually came in there on the elections of at the end of March. They were all captured when they were going to vote.
Yo pensé que eran del gobierno anterior, entonces metieron algunos. Funcionarios, correísmo, larga historia.
Yeah, I think that the translation makes some of the jokes go away a little bit. Sorry.
Gente que entró cuando estaba votando y que lo descubren ahí. Entras, no había ni siquiera luces. Tú compras los focos del pabellón.
Well, I didn't, but my friends from the outside purchased light bulbs. And this was like 6 weeks after because the director at some point had decided that no one was allowed to have lights in their cells. So he took away the light bulbs.
I took away.
Yeah, he took them away.
¿Y cuál era la lógica?
I have absolutely no idea. Light bulbs is one of those things that prisoners sell to each other inside of the prison, but I don't know why he took them away from El Placer. There were a lot of things like this that happened that I have absolutely no idea why they happened.
Fueron a visitarte tus padres al Inca. ¿Cómo te sentiste al ver entrar a tus padres al Inca?
Well, you know, it was hard, but I was also happy because they didn't get to see where I lived. Visitors to El Inca, like my friends when they come visit every week, and my parents, they never got into the actual prison. They didn't get to see how we lived, and I'm very happy about that.
¿Tus padres están pendientes de tu caso a la distancia? ¿Te sientes como, carajo, por qué vine? Tratando de darles una explicación o qué onda, porque me imagino que como padres, un continente, o sea, relativamente lejos, o sea, deben estar pasándola mal, ¿no?
Yeah, they're scared. Absolutely. I mean, they don't understand why this is happening and why. You know, Sweden is this country that is a little bit strange. It's almost as far away from Ecuador as you can come in many different ways. People in Sweden, they trust judicial processes in their country, and they expect those processes to work exactly like it's written down. And if it doesn't work that way, then there will be a huge problem. So coming into the Ecuadorian situation where it's kind of the opposite, where like no one through this whole thing has ever said to me, okay, you can expect justice. and that's really sad. But so my parents, they are worried, of course. And you know, the latest thing that happened last week when my perito, my expert witness, he was raided in the middle of the night with like 10-15 guys with guns came in, didn't show him an order, didn't let him call his lawyer, took his computer, took his phone, and they said the day after that this is because he had an error in his CV.
That's stupid.
And we still don't actually know if there's a process. We've tried to find out if there's a process against him, but we can't find it. We can't find the court order actually acknowledging that this raid was even legal. So this kind of very blatant attempt at scaring us, it frustrates me, but it scares my parents.
Entraron unos falsos presos cuando tú estabas en prisión a querer hablar contigo, a decirte que, y hablaban inglés sorpresivamente, y te preguntaban por los rusos. Que qué onda tú, como que tienes amigos rusos, que tal y cual. ¿No encontraste prisioneros extraños que tenían pinta de policías?
Yeah, there were some people that were acting very suspect.
¿Y cómo actúa un suspect?
You know, it's hard to put the finger on it, but it was a lot of things that kind of came together. They tried to be friendly, and then when you were down, they used those opportunities to try to get you to say things about hacking, about the Russians, about different things. And then it turns out that some of them had been spreading false rumors about me that made it seem like my court process was or my legal process was going much worse than it was going. So these kind of things.
¿Te sientes inteligenciado? ¿Sientes que te persiguen? ¿Sientes que tienes una seguridad privada tú alrededor tuyo? ¿Qué riesgo sientes ahora que tienes?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't understand the question.
¿Sientes que te sigue la policía? ¿Sientes que te investigas? ¿Sientes que te están espiando? ¿Tienes un equipo de seguridad asistiéndote? ¿Cuáles son los riesgos que afrontas hoy por hoy?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they are following us, and they've been following us since the beginning. In fact, the night when I was arrested, the police was actually harassing my lawyers. They were doing illegal searches of my lawyers on the first night. And they have been following friends of mine. They've been clearly been trying to intimidate people in different places. In terms of what risks, it's hard to say, because it's, you know, in this situation we're in right now, we did never expect them to do the kind of thing they did last week, so we don't really know what we can expect from them. But we're trying to take all the measures we can to protect in a reasonable way against any kind of problems that can come up.
¿Crees que Estados Unidos está atrás de toda la policía ecuatoriana o la fiscalía ecuatoriana?
You know, I don't think so, and I hope not, because if they're behind it, that means that they are messing up the whole Ecuadorian judicial system just for Ecuador to be friendly with Uncle Sam. And I think that would be really sad.
¿Y tú eres un friend del Uncle Sam?
I lived in Chicago for 4 years. I think, just like Ecuador, it's a country with lots and lots of interesting people of all kinds. I still have lots of friends in the US. I don't think necessarily that all pieces of the government are benign or good for the world. But it's a complicated question. You can't just say, I hate the US or I love the US. It's going to always be something in between.
¿Pero crees que quieren extraditarte a Estados Unidos y juzgarte allá? ¿Por algo?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't done anything, so I don't know why they would want to do that.
Ellos tienen una copia de los contenidos de tus computadoras.
Well, theoretically speaking, they should not have a copy. Their official letter says that after they sent it back to Ecuador, they deleted all of that.
Man,
what?
Yo también he visto películas gringas.
Are you saying they were lying?
No sé yo, pero en las películas gringas se ve muchas cosas. ¿Qué pueden tener?
Well, if they have everything, that still is not a problem. They have a lot of personal information about me, but I have never committed a crime, so there's no problem.
Ellos tienen la capacidad tecnológica para desencriptar tus contenidos. Porque acá no tienen puta idea como loco.
It's impossible to say what they have. I mean, the capabilities they have from a decryption perspective are obviously secrets that they're guarding very closely, so it's impossible to say.
¿Y dentro de tus asuntos personales hay algo que te tenga preocupado? De tu información personal. No sé, esa foto incómoda. Esas cosas que uno no quiere que salgan, hermano.
I don't know. No, of course not. I think that the most uncomfortable picture I have is there is a picture in my phone. A few years ago, I visited Prague, and in Prague they have a bunker from the Cold War bunker. And I was there with 4 or 5 friends, and they have a place where you can take photos with replicas of traditional weapons and a Soviet flag. And I took a picture of that, which was just for fun. But if someone sees that picture and doesn't know the context, it could look like a very different thing than what it is. But this thing about private conversations, it does worry me, not because it's something that I'm ashamed of, but because private conversations should be private. There are things like when I talk to my friends, that's a conversation that is not supposed to be shared with someone else. And Ecuador has already, the prosecutor's office has already violated that kind of stuff with the current file, with the expediente. Right now, there are chat logs that have nothing to do with any kind of crime, where one of my close friends in Sweden is telling me about some of her medical conditions. And this is in the expediente.
También dicen que hay unas conversaciones tuyas de WhatsApp en las que estás en Brasil y le confiesas a un amigo haber hackeado algo.
Sorry, what?
Dentro del contenido de tu teléfono, porque ellos ingresan a tu teléfono, para los que no lo saben, viendo una cámara de seguridad en la que pueden ver cuál es el código que digita Hola Bini en su teléfono. Y en las conversaciones de WhatsApp, ellos dicen tener una conversación en la que tú confiesas haber hecho algún tipo de hackeo antes de estar en el Ecuador, cuando estabas en Brasil, en alguno de tus viajes a Brasil. Nunca has hackeado nada.
I have never hacked.
Ni siquiera
wait.
por fan, así de voy a hackearle este hijo de puta. Así,
Can we take a step back and just be careful with the word here? I don't use the word hacker very much because it means a lot of different things. But I want to be very specific and say I've never broken into any kind of computer system or phone system in my life. I've never done that. I've never, not for fun, not for profit, not for any reason. And I've never built any kind of tools that can be used for that kind of thing either. And if they say that there are chats where I admit to something like that, then they are either misunderstanding or lying because I've never done it.
Tú has trabajado precisamente en lo contrario.
Exactly. I protect systems. I don't break them.
Pero tendrías las capacidades de hacerlo.
Well, honestly, I wouldn't know because I've never tried.
¿Y alguna vez has encriptado comunicaciones o hecho más seguras comunicaciones de grupos ilegales en el mundo?
Legal groups?
Illegal
groups. No.
Jamás, ni un poquito.
No.
¿Qué tan difícil es hackear? How difficult is to hack?
As I said, I wouldn't know honestly because I've never tried. But I mean,
Pero conoces la seguridad.
I know how to protect systems, yes. But the process of breaking into a system is, as far as I understand it, very different. Take like building locks. Just because you know how to build a lock doesn't mean that you know how to do lock picking.
Dentro de eso viene. Van a pasar recogiendo los papelitos con sus preguntas. Aquí tenemos un sistema muy sofisticado para enviar las preguntas que impide cualquier tipo de hackeo. Son papelitos hechos en servilletas y en cualquier cosa que encuentren a la mano, a la vieja usanza. Dentro de eso encuentran unas fotos de un sistema informático que, de lo que entiendo, determina las IPs de sistemas que son vulnerables. Ahí viene el tema CNT, ahí viene el tema Petroecuador. ¿Qué son exactamente esas fotos tipo DOS de pantalla negra que salieron en la prensa? Porque la gente normal no le entiende. ¿Me explico? DOS es de mi tiempo, ya me imagino que no debe ser así, pues, loco, pero la gente ve ahí una cantidad de números, una cantidad de códigos. ¿Qué es eso?
So it's a picture showing
esa parte sí sabía.
Okay. So the picture, it shows text. This text can be a lot of different things. The way most people seem to have interpreted that picture is that it shows someone. So a computer has two different ways of working with it. You can either work with a graphical user interface, which is like point and click. You use the mouse and you click on different things to make things happen. Or you can use what's called a terminal. And with a terminal, you type commands and the computer does whatever you do. So whatever you want it to do. Now, this picture shows something that looks to be a terminal, where someone has entered a command that's called telnet. Now, you know, the internet is much more than web. The internet is a lot of different services. To be specific, each IP address can have 65,535 different services running on the same IP address. Most of the time we only use...
Botellita de Jerez.
Sorry?
No, eso tienes que haber nacido en Latinoamérica para entender Botellita de Jerez y haber crecido con el Chavo.
Okay. Anyway, so the web uses a specific port. It uses port 80 most of the time. But all the other ports can be used for other services. So Telnet is this service that you can use to connect to another computer. And just as I use the terminal on my computer, I can use Telnet to execute commands on the other computer. So this picture shows someone using Telnet to connect to a specific IP address. Someone. Well, we don't even know that this happened because, as I said, this is text. In fact, creating a picture that looks exactly like what done on this picture without using the terminal is very easy. So we can't really know from the picture that this actually happened.
¿Pero qué hiciste tú?
Honestly, I don't remember what I did at that time. But the point is, so Telnet allows you to connect to this service, this IP address, right? But the connection only starts, it asks for a username, and then it stops, which means that the person didn't try to enter. It's like someone going up to a door, knocking, and then walking away. And that's all that this picture shows. The IP address...
¿Y para qué fuiste a noquear, pues? Solo así como el ring ring corre, como guagua así en los... For what?
Well, assuming that it was me who did these things and they were actually done, the thing is, I've used this metaphor, you know, when you as a security professional, imagine you're like a police officer or a bodyguard or someone that works with physical security, and you move into a new neighborhood. One of the first things you're going to do is probably walk around in a neighborhood. You're going to look around. You're going to see, okay.
Knocking doors, no.
Maybe knocking doors to see who your neighbors are. Maybe look for, are there security cameras? Sí. Are there any problems? And then when you have done that, if you see any problems, you're going to talk to someone and see, hey, can we get this fixed? When I first came to Ecuador, one of the things that I was wondering about was what the security was like in Ecuador. So I looked using a service called Shodan, which is a public service, and I just looked for Ecuador in Shodan, and I saw that there were some potentially problematic things.
Y se la cuentas a tu socio.
The Fiscalía is claiming that I sent that picture to him.
You don't remember.
I don't remember if that's exactly what I did, no.
Y tú, si es que se lo contabas, era para advertirle sobre la vulnerabilidad porque él trabajaba con estos clientes públicos.
Yes, exactly. At that time, I know that he had a contract with CNT. So if I actually told him about this, it would have been for the purpose of, like, it's if you see a house on fire, and basically, like, you call a person who can do something about it.
También tienen sospechas porque dicen que tu socio trabajaba con Senaín. Entonces, ¿qué hacías tú metiéndote en los sistemas informáticos públicos trabajando con un ex Senaín? ¿Sabes lo que es Senaín?
First of all,
debes saber.
First of all, I know what Senaín was, and I'm not a fan. But first of all, I do want to say,
Me neither, man.
I never got into any system at all. That's what the prosecution is claiming, but they haven't proved it because I never actually did enter into any systems. But I also have never worked for Senaín, and I would never work for Senaín.
¿Por qué?
Because Senaín does exactly the opposite kind of work than what I've done. I dedicate myself to protecting the security and privacy for everyone by building secure systems. Intelligence services like Senaín, like CIA, FBI, NSA, like the equivalents in Argentina, Brazil, Sweden, we have the FRA. All of these organizations, they fundamentally operate by breaking into systems. Even if they do it for a good reason, it's something that I think is bad for the world. Breaking into systems, no matter why you do it, is something that makes everyone less secure.
No debería hacerse nunca. Y si es que romper esas seguridades provocaría que se pueda impedir un ataque terrorista, ¿no estaría justificado?
Well, you know, honestly, I don't think that that's ever going to happen. If you're in a situation where a terrorist attack can be stopped by breaking into a computer system, that's such an extremely unlikely event, and it would also mean that all the police and intelligence services have been so extremely incompetent in other areas to allow it to get to that point.
Bueno, si tú dices así ha de ser. Básicamente.
No, but the way I see it is that the world right now is so full of privacy invasions. Privacy to me is, privacy is a human right according to the United Nations Declarations of Human Rights. And the reason why it's important is, for me, privacy in itself is not the important part, but privacy is necessary for democracy. We know from a lot of social studies that once you have surveillance, once you know that people are actually surveilled, their agency, their control, their choice disappears, which means that if you don't have any choice, if you don't have any personal choice, then how can you live in a democracy? How can you even say that you have a democracy? So what happens when
Ahí estoy de acuerdo contigo.
So for me, that's why privacy, especially in the technical world right now, where privacy intrusions are significantly more easy and they're done on an everyday basis, and everyone is giving away all their information to Facebook without even knowing how much of their information they're getting. All of this stuff is happening all the time, and you know, the balance has shifted so far against privacy that my opinion is that we need to take back privacy.
Si es que pudieras dar 5 consejos acá a la gente común, ¿de qué tenemos que hacer? 5 cosas básicas que tenemos que hacer para mejorar nuestra privacidad en Internet. Porque la gente cree que con borrar el historial ya pasa todo, no ha pasado nada, aquí no me descubre nada. Pero 5 cosas básicas que tiene que hacer el ciudadano común y corriente como yo.
Okay, so that's a very good question, and I appreciate it. I actually, one of the things that I started doing when I was in prison, I started writing a book about security and privacy, and I've continued working that on the outside. So I've been thinking a lot about these things. For regular people that
In Spanish. Pues escribir un libro en español. No hablo español.
Hopefully it will be translated into Spanish at some point, but not by me. So in terms of the advice, let's see if I can make them into 5. I'm not sure about that, but it might be less. The first one is quite simple. You need to use a password manager. And the reason for that is because you can't use the same passwords in every places.
¿El Face ID te parece una cosa segura como para entrar al Password Manager?
Actually, Face ID and Touch ID are significantly less secure than most people think. Security researchers in Germany showed, like, after 3 days after the new iPhone was released with Touch ID and with Face ID, that they could work around it. Face ID is also highly racist. I don't know if you saw the reports about how it couldn't tell different Chinese people apart. So when it comes to cell phones, I would say...
Es que es bien complicado, hermano. Los chinos están bien parecidos. Pero...
I'm going to ignore that you said that. But yeah, password managers are important. Keep your systems up to date. Super important. When you're browsing, use ad blockers. The reason for ad blockers is not because ads are bad in themselves. I don't think necessarily they're the best way of monetizing the internet. But the problem is that ads, cookies is part of the problem. Ads track you and trace you, so they steal your private information. But ads are also these things that ad networks can be used to attack people. And there are famous examples, like, for example, the Chinese Great Wall actually used an ad network to attack GitHub with a denial of service attack. So ad networks, even though they would be good in isolation, they actually make you susceptible to attacks. So let's see. Password manager and good passwords in general. Keep everything updated. Ad blockers for your browser. Have backups. Yeah, I think those are the 4. Those are the 4 main ones. If you do those, you're better off than all. These are the 4 main ones.
¿Cuál era el cuarto? Backups.
Backups, thank you. Yeah, so if you do
¿Tú
those
te
4...
acuerdas de tus claves? Así, H mayúscula, pi, arroba, 3 puntos. Esas claves que hace la gente como tú. Porque uno es Pepita 1, 2, 3, 4. Pues.
That's exactly the point. That's why you need a password manager, so you don't have to remember your passwords. You remember one password, which is the password manager, and these. Yes, exactly.
Nunca salgas de tu casa sin tu cadena de... Consejo de hola, Bini. No es cualquier huevada.
Well, I can give you number 5, which is a little bit more complicated. So number 5 is called threat modeling. So when you're talking about security, in general, you want to make sure that your mitigations, the things you do for security, are appropriate to the risk. So, for example, most people don't need to have 4 locks on their outer door. They probably don't need security cameras, and they probably don't need a guard dedicated to stand outside of their door. Some people might need that. So this idea of like thinking about the proper security for the proper situation is important, because if you have too much security, like if you end up with everyone in this room having these kind of things, that wouldn't be good for everyone, because most people don't work with security related open source projects, so they probably don't need this. So that means that they are complicating their lives without needing to.
¿Tú duermes con eso?
No, not on me, but close by.
Wow. Oye, ¿y qué opinas de los maridos o las mujeres que saben la clave del teléfono de la pareja? ¿Te parece un riesgo?
It depends. Do they trust each other? No, I mean, it's not just a question about trust. Every person has to make that choice themselves. And of course, there are risks with doing that. And I mean, a typical example in the US, it is a really big problem with spouse abuse, where primarily men abuse their partners. And one of the ways they do this is by keeping track of their phones, like opening their phones, looking at the messages and things like that. Those kind of situations, I think, are horrible. And our modern technology allows for much easier access to this kind of stuff and much easier enabling of this kind of abuse. And in those kind of situations, I think it's better that each person have their own private spaces and private lives. Having privacy doesn't mean, like, if me and my partner we don't share each other's keys, that doesn't mean we don't trust each other. It's like, why do you have curtains on your window? Is it because you don't trust people on the outside? Well, having curtains is nice because you can close out the world outside.
Mi mujer tiene todas mis claves, mi hermano, por si acaso.
Okay, good for you.
Todas tiene. ¿Cuál falta? La del banco falta, la del banco, dice. Claro, la de Tinder, no tengo Tinder, abogado, pues. ¿Cómo va a ser eso? Una cosa que ¿tienes Tinder?
I had a Tinder account. Like, I had a breakup like 2.5 years ago, and I tried Tinder for maybe 5 days. It was not a success. I never got past, like, I think I made like 1 or 2 conversations, and it was like 3 or 4 messages, and then I was like, no. But
here in Ecuador.
But I did no, well, in Brazil and in Ecuador. But I do have to tell you, the funny thing is, the prosecutor, he actually felt that Tinder conversation was important enough that he's added it to the official evidence for my trial.
¿Y qué estabas hablando en Tinder? No me digas que eres tan friki que en Tinder estás hablando de software libre y huevadas.
No, we never got to that point. I think there was like a hello, and then I said something about her profile, and then she said something back, and I think that's the end of the conversation. I mean, clearly this is very, very, very important evidence, and I'm happy that the prosecution have spent the valuable tax money to collect this evidence.
Las autoridades dicen que los movimientos de dinero en el CAD, que según algunos agentes de policía consultados, aseguran que superan los millones de dólares y que no ha existido una tributación al respecto. ¿Qué opinas? ¿Es verdad? ¿Es mentira?
I don't know, because I don't have insight into the accounts, but our grants have always been to significantly less than $1 million. And you have to keep in mind, we are actually an NGO, which means that we don't pay taxes. So that's pretty reasonable.
Es una ONG.
Yeah. Yeah, we are a properly incorporated NGO with the Ministry of Telecommunications.
¿Y quiénes son los financistas de esta NGO? ¿De qué vive Hola Bini?
In fear of the Ecuadorian government. CAD is financed and funded by a US-based NGO foundation.
Which one?
It's called UFC, and I honestly don't remember what it stands for now.
Okay. Creo que tengo Ricardo Patiño, viajes con Patiño.
Patiño.
No. Ahí estamos. Vamos a las preguntas de la gente. Esta gente es más hijo de puta que yo, loco. Así que ten cuidado, loco. ¿Crees que puedes hacer un libro sobre seguridad para celulares de casados? Ahí está. Esta weá es un puto bestseller y la idea fue mía, cabrón. Así que espero mi regalía, abogado.
I like it. I'll have to think about it. Like marriage security for dummies.
Yeah. A ver, how do you feel now? And what are your plans, if you have any, for your near future?
Okay, so I feel happy to be out of. Sorry. I feel happy to be out of prison. I'm really happy that the provincial court acknowledged the abuses that have been happening and the irregularities. So it's very nice to be outside of prison. I miss my family and my friends who are not in the country right now. But I'm glad to be able to work together with my lawyers to prepare my defense and to show my innocence. And I mean, in terms of plans, right now we're just waiting for the pre-trial hearing that's going to be in October 10. Of course, last week's event made me really worried because it's clear that the prosecution and the Ministry of the Interior will not play fair. So I don't know if we will actually get a fair trial. ¿Qué opinas de María Paula Romo?
Así como si es que te la encontraras, ¿qué le dirías?
I would ask her why. I would ask her why she started lying on me about me and why she's continued this persecution. I don't know anything about her really except for what I've seen in the reports, but every time she talks about me, every single interview, she has said things that contradicts what she said before. So clearly she's lying about my case, but I just don't understand why.
Why?
Yeah, why? I'm a very curious person. I want to know why.
¿Pero por qué crees? ¿Por qué crees que te tienen jodido?
I don't know. I can only speculate, but I mean, I clearly, me being a friend of Julian made me a convenient scapegoat. I don't know why they've continued, because clearly after the first few days it should have been obvious to them that this was not working, but they've continued, and they've continued harassing me, harassing my friends, harassing everyone around, and destroying the Ecuadorian judicial system at the same time. I feel like needing a scapegoat for the whole Julian thing is not enough to explain why they are trashing the whole country like this.
Oye, ¿y es verdad que Julian ponía... ¿Es verdad que Julian Assange ponía caca en las paredes, como dijeron? Eso dijo la embajada, pues. Eso dijo.
I have no idea. I've never seen him do that.
Nunca estuviste vos así embadurnando nada. Just asking.
Every time I see him, he's been a perfect gentleman and a very, very nice person. Very nice to the embassy staff. Very nice to everyone around.
No poo. ¿Cómo le puedo hackear el Facebook a mi novio?
You shouldn't. You should just convince her to stop using Facebook.
Pero tú tienes Twitter.
I have Twitter, yes.
¿Es más seguro?
Sorry about that. That's a hard question. Twitter doesn't use my personal information as much as Facebook does, but it's a degree, and you know, security, it's a question of balance. For me, I have friends all around the world and I travel a lot, but I don't see my friends most of the time, and I need some way to be in contact with them. I made the choice that Twitter is the least evil of the alternatives.
It's the least evil.
Least evil.
Okay.
It's a compromise, and I'm not happy about it, but until
Telegram.
something better. Telegram, for what purposes?
Chat.
So Telegram is not encrypted by default. So that means that anyone in between, including Telegram, including the Russians, can read all your conversations. You can have you can definitely have encrypted conversations with Telegram, but you have to turn it on. But the problem is that the encryption that Telegram uses is actually really weird. So when you look at things from a cryptographic standpoint, cryptographers are very conservative. Like if it was published the last 20 years, we don't trust it. It's like 30, 40 years, then we're comfortable. And Telegram, they made up their own crypto system, and that makes every cryptographer I know feel very uncomfortable.
So no Telegram, Signal?
Signal, I mean, the problem is telephones suck. From a security standpoint, telephones are just like suck.
Tenemos que volver a la paloma mensajera, según vos, entonces.
But if you're gonna use a phone for chats, then Signal is the safest and most secure you can use.
Signal.
But it's definitely, it's like the level of the phone is what determines the safety.
¿Qué teléfono tiene Hola Bini?
I have an iPhone.
iPhone es el más seguro.
Of the ones available right now, yes. Well, I mean, of the mass market phones available. Obviously, the Fiscalia took my phones when I was arrested, so I had to get something that was available here to replace it.
En las fotos se puede ver Home Hola Bini. ¿Esto es tu computador o es un burdo intento de implicarte? Esta es la imagen esta de CNT, creo.
Right. So what it looks like is that so a terminal, when it's waiting for you to say something, it shows what's called a prompt. The prompt is how you know, okay, the computer is waiting for you to say something. A very common thing is to show the current directory you're in the prompt. And from that image, it looks like /home/olabini is the directory, the current directory that the person is inside when they're executing the telnet command.
No significa que vos pusiste Hola Bini. Y además, si es que alguien va a hackear algo aquí, ¿quién va a poner Hola Bini? No. Aquí va a poner Pepito 1, 2, 3, pero no. De acuerdo a la información que tú posees, ¿consideras que el Ecuador es un país seguro? Digitalmente hablando.
What kind of speaking, sorry?
Digital.
No. But to be fair, no country is a safe country from a digital standpoint. But I do feel like cybersecurity in Ecuador is still a subject that needs to be more resources and more energy spent on cybersecurity. And actually, this scares me a little bit because the kind of prosecution that is happening against me. A lot of my friends that are interested in cybersecurity and teaching people about it and helping make things more secure, their reaction has been, Ecuador is a place where you get persecuted for having USB drives around your neck. So that means that it's a possibility that people will be scared away from actually working on cybersecurity in Ecuador, which is obviously really bad for the country.
¿Puede ser objetivo cuando te refieres a Julian Assange?
No, of course not. He's my friend.
Pero es friend, pana. O sea, pana así de puta Julián, hermano. ¿Cómo te quiero? ¿Cómo te extraño? Nosotros medimos así la amistad. Si no has llamado a tu pana a las 5:30 de la mañana mamado, ese no es tu amigo, ¿verdad? Lo consideras un amigo, pero en realidad, o sea,
he's a friend, but he's not that kind of friend.
Oye, ¿tú no eras rubio?
I'm blonde.
¿Y cuándo te pintaste en el Inca?
No, which you can see from the pictures when I was released that I had very long blonde hair and a blonde ugly beard.
¿Qué le dirías a María Paula Romo? Ya pregunté eso. ¿En el Inca se te cayó el jabón en la ducha? La gente hace sus preguntas, mi hermano. Yo compré los jabones.
I can just clarify. In my pavilion, the shower we had no warm water, and it only dripped water. So it was a significant challenge. We didn't have clean water at all.
No shower in 70 days.
You know, the shower we did was the kind of shower where you stand in front of a sink and you like splash water on yourself.
¿Crees que algún día tu historia tenga una película?
It depends on how this prosecution ends.
¿Quién o quiénes dirías tú que espían a los ciudadanos en el mundo? Todo el mundo, carajo.
Everyone that can. Most governments.
Cuando te capturaron, ¿dónde estaban tus USB?
Around my neck.
Always there.
Until, about an hour after, roughly at the same time.
Another one.
Oh, thank you. At the same time that they told me to put my phone away for my own security, so I couldn't communicate, they also asked me to put my USB drives in my bag that I had next to me. And then I was allowed to keep my bag until 11 in the evening when they handcuffed me and took my things away.
Who is Hooter? Hotter. Ah, Hotter. Uy.
What? Oh, who's hotter?
Yeah. Pamela Anderson or Maria Paula Romo?
I'm sorry. I think that's a very misogynist question to ask.
Pregunta el ministro Granda, oye. Choose Snowden or Assange.
Choose what? Choose? In what way?
Professional?
Professional.
You know, like, el más entendido del tema de esas cosas que hacen ustedes.
I think Julian has a lot more experience in privacy and security, so I would choose him from that perspective.
You have two choices. One, living in a world with no technology and electricity. Two, being for the rest of your life the roommate of the prosecutor Fabián Chávez. Fabián Chávez, el fiscal.
Okay, clearly option one.
Yeah. Another choose. One, Cod Buller.
Sorry, what?
I don't know what it is.
Shot.
What is that?
It's meatballs. It's
Meatballs.
Swedish meatballs is the name for it, but it's in Swedish.
Albóndigas or fritada.
You know, that puts me in an awkward position because I'm a vegetarian. So.
Fuck that. Were you Abbas, dancing queen in jail?
I don't know. No, I was not dancing queen in jail. I don't think I've ever been dancing queen.
Fuck that. Maldita sea. It's Harold Edelstein, your hero.
I have no idea who that is, actually.
Ya, qué bueno, pero yo tampoco. Esta es la misma pregunta que la misma persona que hizo 19 preguntas y que me está poniendo en compromiso mi inglés. Yo manejo un Volvo, ¿qué opinas de mí? Dice.
That's a conservative and good choice, good quality. But it depends on if it was before or after Volvo was sold to China.
Can I hug you?
Sure. Now or later.
Give me your number. En realidad esto va en contra de la privacidad y de la seguridad. Pedirle el número en público is not really secure.
I can give you a number.
One number.
42.
42. Tienes que hacer todas las combinaciones que terminen en 42 hasta las 6 de la mañana. 0998 42. No. ¿Te habían dicho que te pareces al personaje del cereal de la película Jaques? Shakes? Whatever. Ah, serial killer. Tienes pinta de asesino en serie, dice. Si ves esta gente que prejuicia, loco.
But clearly, people that look like serial killers are not serial killers.
Claro, pues. Y la gente que parece agente tampoco parece agente. Y viene.
They are lizards.
Claro. Justo preguntan, ¿hay algún agente que puedas reconocer?
Yes.
El caballero de camisa blanca. El caballero de camisa blanca. Me lo vacila. ¿Es agente o no es agente? No es agente, no. ¡No, eso! Agente no, agente no. Siempre bienvenidos los agentes, siempre bienvenidos. Siempre bienvenido, maestro. Tienes un 2x1 la próxima que vengas. Fue Assange quien se acercó a la embajada ecuatoriana en Londres exigiendo su asilo a cambio del silencio de giros bancarios.
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, he got asylum a year before I ever met him, and he never told me about anything like that.
Dice, what is your connection with Tommy's Lab Topic and Telconet?
Telconet, I hosted my server there. We had a commercial relationship. That's my only connection.
¿Y crees que es segura Telconet?
I think from a purely commercial standpoint, Telconet is probably the best provider of data centers in Ecuador.
Pero si sabes que el dueño supuestamente es tremendo pillo, ¿no?
I didn't know that.
You should read the news, man.
The news are in Spanish.
Deberías leer las noticias. Había una vez un chico llamado Jorge Glass. ¿Qué te hace sentir haber estado 70 días presos por un crimen que Fiscalía reconoce que no cometiste? Dice. Eso pregunta tu abogado. Está clarísimo. Perfecto. Que no en mayúsculas, sí, por favor.
I see. Extremely angry.
Hola. What's the best programming language?
What's my what?
The best, el mejor lenguaje de programación, loco.
That depends on the purpose. There is no such thing as a best programming language. But I'm a huge fan of Golang for some things and Ruby for other things. But Lisp is the best.
Qué buena pregunta. ¿La pastilla roja o la pastilla azul?
A red pill, of course.
¿Cuántos años tienes?
How old? 37. I celebrated my birthday in prison.
Oh, sorry. ¿Pueden implantar evidencia en tus equipos en Estados Unidos?
It can be implanted in the United States or it can be implanted here.
¿Sientes que tu vida está en peligro?
No, not really. I mean, I don't really trust that the justice system will give me justice here, but I also have a huge amount of support and friends and family and everyone supporting me, both internationally, but I also have so many supporters here in Ecuador, and I think that all that support will stop something really bad from happening.
Reconoce a alguna gente, ya reconocimos, le aplaudimos, ya te le vais a la poca, voy a llegar al trabajo así. Tus clientes eran periodistas que investigaban ejecuciones extrajudiciales. ¿Por tu culpa alguien tuvo peligro de su vida? ¿Has tenido clientes que buscan seguridad en sus comunicaciones para poder desarrollar investigaciones periodísticas de manera segura?
Okay, so obviously I can't talk about details about these people.
But yes or no?
No one has ever been in more danger for me having helped them. In general, my help is supposed to reduce the danger for people.
But you do.
I have given advice about security and privacy to journalists investigating dangerous situations, yes.
Muy bien. Señoras y señores, hemos tenido una conversación que ha superado los problemas técnicos. Debíamos poner a Hola Bini en la parte técnica y en la parte... mentira. Gracias, muchachos. La primera experiencia haciendo esto. Hemos conversado sobre el caso, hemos conversado sobre su trayectoria, hemos conversado sobre el contexto, hemos conversado sobre cómo tener una conversación más segura y cómo evitar que tu pareja se meta a tu Facebook. Evidentemente, hemos tratado de, en este corto tiempo, abordar la mayor cantidad de temas posibles. En este caso, que considero que es un caso emblemático, porque no creo que el país ha afrontado un caso de este tipo en cuanto a seguridad digital, que implique un reto para las autoridades en cuanto al entendimiento del tema técnico, que es importante. No es lo mismo entender a lo que se está enfrentando un fiscal hoy por hoy, en este caso, que a un accidente de tránsito. Entonces también es un gran reto para la justicia ecuatoriana si es que si desarrolla el caso en justicia, en respeto al debido proceso, que es lo que yo espero. Espero que presiones internacionales o situaciones políticas no desvíen la realidad de los hechos, y que si es que el señor es culpable, él dice que no lo sea, pero que no pague si es que no es, porque otros quieren. Y eso es lo importante, y eso es lo que espero que suceda. Sin más, pido que le den un enorme aplauso a nuestro invitado de esta noche. Los espero el próximo. Tú siempre me dices el próximo. Es de este lunes en 15. Estaremos 23. Estaremos con el gobierno, pero estaremos con el ministro de Cultura, Juan Fernando Velasco, para hablar de cultura y tocar un chance la guitarra. Ustedes esperaban que estaremos con María Paula Romo. No, aguántense un ratito. Sin más, muchísimas gracias. Hola.
Thank you.